Hey guys, the WalterFootball.com After the Dark show for March 13, 2025. We're going to be looking at NFL free agency, going to be looking at the grades. Some trades happened today, so grade those as well. And also, as I mentioned yesterday, I have this package here from Kenny, and I'm going to try to guess what it is before I open it, and I'm going to see what it is. I'm very excited about that. Also, if you're wondering how the Saints possibly have money to make all these terrible signings, we have the right guy here to explain it. So before we get into everything, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description for the merch store. As you can see, I'm wearing AMC 801. Same shirt as yesterday. Yes, it's the same shirt. I don't have to. That's how we roll here. But you could buy one of these shirts here at the WalterFootball.com merch store, 15% off, and you can choose your color. So we have a ton of options here. We have the mugs and stuff. So we still have the Squirrel Lives Matter shirt too, I think. Yeah. Usually it's taken down by now. It's still available. So you can get that. You can go to Amazon, buy my books. I have 3 of them. The most recent one is Jerks of the College Years, where I make fun of people. I made fun of people that I saw at Penn State for 6 years. So if you guys like that, you can help support the show by buying the book. Also, please consider super chats, super stickers. We've had a few great super chats recently. Yesterday, John Sanders helped us out a lot. Before that, we had Slew, we had the Genanon, we had Can't Make an Eagle, Alan Stafford, the boss. Like, you guys have been so great with your contributions here. I can't say it enough, like how much it means to us. So really, if you would continue to help support the show, it would just really help us, because YouTube ads pay nothing, as I always say. So all right, we are joined by Kenny. The cap is fake. Kenny, how's it going? How's free agency treating you so far?
I got to be honest, as an Eagles fan, I'm not loving the current trajectory of free agency. So I just keep going back and rewatching highlights from the Super Bowl.
Yeah, like, you'd always do that to make you happy. How many times do you think you've seen the 2 Eagles Super Bowl wins, in total?
I mean, in total, all the way. The 2017 Super Bowl, I've watched that all the way through. My guesstimate, probably 70 times over the course of the last 7 years. But then, I don't know, how many times have I seen the Philly special? I've seen that play. It's got to be in the hundreds. I mean, maybe more. And so with this, the most recent Super Bowl, I've probably watched it over the last month, all the way through, maybe 12 times. And again, but I've watched. I mean, I've seen the dagger, as everyone was calling it, the Jalen Hurts to Devontae Smith dagger, 46-yard touchdown pass. I've seen that dozens, maybe into the hundreds at this point, because it's all over my Instagram feed. So
we talked about that yesterday. How I thought that was kind of like cemented Jalen Hurts winning MVP in the Super Bowl. Whereas beforehand, I thought it was going to be Josh Sweat, just given that he had 2.5 sacks, and one of the hits he had on Mahomes wasn't even a sack. Like, it was a hit he had on Mahomes that caused that interception. And then he signs a 4-year, I think it was like $74 million contract at Arizona. Milton Williams leaves for the Patriots. He signed a $100 million contract. I assume you're sad to see these guys go. It was inevitable. You can't keep everyone, right? So,
and those guys got paid massive amounts of money that the Eagles just were not going to want to pay them. Like Milton Williams, really good player, and I think his best football's ahead of him, but way overpaid. Like, yeah, come on, he's not worth that amount of money. So, yeah. So I guess we'll talk more about some of those specific deals. But I mean, yeah, the Eagles are fine. They're in fine shape. They still have one of the most talented, maybe the most talented roster in the NFL still. They got a lot of good young depth. So, but this time last year, we were celebrating the additions of Saquon Barkley and Devin Bush.
Yep. Yeah, Devin White, you mean?
Devin White. Sorry, not Devin Bush.
Yeah.
Devin White. Yeah, Devin White.
All right. We have requests for open the package. Right? Well, I guess we should. I was going to say it to the end, but we have.
No, you got to do it. You got to do it open. You got to open it. Here we go.
Okay. All right. I was kind of wondering what this is. It's just like soft. I can bend it. So I thought initially it was going to be, I don't know, I was going to take a guess and say maybe like Asian porn or something. But no, you said I would like it, but so I was trying to think of like stuff I would like, So I asked Grok actually what this could be. I said, my friend of 26 years, it's been that long, can you believe it? Sent me a gift. He says, I don't know what it is. He says, I would enjoy it and get a kick out of it. We have a semi-professional relationship. I don't know if you agree with that, but in addition to being friends, we both love American football and classic video games. What are the top 3 possibilities this gift could be? And so it says a retro football video game, a custom football jersey with a twist, and then a football themed arcade stick or controller. And then I told Grok, I don't know what I said him. I said, it feels like a shirt of some sort. It's not hard. I have the package. I haven't opened it. Can you revise your guesses? And then it says, with the new info, it says a vintage football video game t-shirt, a team mashup t-shirt, and then the original one, a custom football jersey with a personal touch. Are any of those, is that any of those?
I think you should have potentially given Grok some thoughts that on our shared political ideology.
Okay. That's probably should have been. All right. I'm going to open this now. I'm going to see what it is. Okay, let's go. I'm excited. Looks like nothing. It's just like paper bags.
That's it.
All right. It's definitely a shirt. Okay. It's a green shirt. Okay. Is there anything else in there? No, it's just a green shirt. Okay. All right. Let's see. I'm going to open this up. It is a shirt. This is great. All right. This is great. All right. I don't know. Can you guys see this? Golf of America 2025. That's awesome.
Right. This is the part my wife said was gay. Well, no offense to gay people, but my wife said this is kind of gay. But I have to reveal that I too have a Golf of America shirt. There it is.
That's awesome. All right, I'm gonna put it on. I have to put it on.
Golf of America 2025 establishment.
Slew says a Rainmaker seat. Oh man, that's a really good idea for a shirt for the merch store. I'm gonna do that. Hold on, I'm gonna put this on. Hold on. You can talk while I pick up the earphones.
And so, this is probably my favorite. My favorite thing that Trump has accomplished so far in the first few weeks in office, and that is renaming of the Gulf of Mexico. Listen, nothing against Mexico. Mexico provides lots of great things for the world, but it's the Gulf of America now. So anyway, that's my
Gulf of America. That's great. Thank you, Kenny. That's awesome.
My wife said to me, "So you guys are gonna have matching T-shirts?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "That's kind of a little bit gay, isn't it?" I said, "Yeah, a little bit. Whatever. There's nothing wrong with that."
Well, if we were women, we'd be mad at each other for wearing the same outfit, right? So I don't know. It's a great gift. Thank you, Kenny. This is awesome. I do like this idea of Rainmakers T-shirt. How would you do it in the RIP Rainmakers or something?
RIP Rainmakers would be that. Yeah, that would be the.
Yeah, and have the colors of the cards. I almost forget what they were at this point. Looking at green, rare was green, elite was blue, legendary is yellow, and the Rainmaker thing I don't even know, it was orangish or gold. What was the common card? Was it just black or white?
Black the core card.
Yeah, core card.
Black with a little bit of silver.
Silver, okay. Yeah, I don't even remember at this point.
Long time ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm playing So Rare now for the NBA. It's not nearly the same. It's okay. It's kind of fun, but they're different colors. It's fine. Exactly. Yeah, it's fine. Same shirt. It actually reminds me of back in 2012 or 2013. I used to hang out with this group of people. I'm still friends with this guy, but we would meet up at the bars every Friday, and no joke, we would not even talk to each other about it. But we both it was 5 Fridays in a row, 6 Fridays in a row. We both showed up with the same outfit. It wasn't like the same exact shirt, but it would be I was wearing a blue shirt and khaki shorts. He was doing the same thing. And then the next week I'd be wearing a white shirt and jeans or something. It was the same, and he wore the same thing. We wouldn't even coordinate. People would make fun of us. They're how often can you guys come up with the same outfit, the same looking outfit? So I thought that was funny. It was a long time ago, but. Also, that same bar we had, we used to play rock paper scissors to decide who used to shoot pool first, and my Josh, my best man, right, at my wedding, this is no joke, we did rock paper scissors 25 times in a row. We tied 25 times in a row each time. It was the longest game of rock paper scissors of all time. But fun times back when I used to drink and have.
I haven't played paper rock scissors in I haven't played that in. I feel like it's been decades.
I think that was the last time I played. It's just they tied 25 times in a row to see who would go first in pool or something. It's we were just there for 10 minutes, just doing just shooting, and it would be the same thing. Where's that guy who always wants Walt and his guests to take off their clothes for some reason? He almost missed something there. I think that's Chris Horst. He just missed it. He missed it, Chris. I'll have to break the news to him. All right, yeah. Thank you once again, Kenny. Thank you so much. This is awesome. My wife is gonna think this is funny too. So, all right. Grok was wrong, by the way. All right.
If you told Grok, we both are outspoken Trump supporters, and whatever. But Grok might have guessed something like that.
Yeah, I should have done that. I don't know. I wasn't thinking. I thought it was gonna be I thought it was gonna be something football related. That's kind of why I mentioned that. But yeah, I definitely should have added that. That was one piece of info I was missing. All right, let's get to these trades. So we had Dallas made 2 trades today, and I want to get your opinion on this trade too. That happened yesterday. But first, Dallas got. I feel like this is they're grabbing all the bums that were drafted recently in the first round who never panned out. So they got Kenneth Murray for a late round swap. We don't actually know what the compensation was. I imagine it was like a 6th and a 7th or something. And then they also got Kaiir Elam, which I'm kind of curious to hear what John Sanders has to say about this. Elam's been a big bust, but at least he's a couple years younger than Murray. He was drafted in 2022. He was awful in that Chiefs game in the AFC Championship. Like when Christian Benford went down, they had to put him in, and he was terrible. So I don't like either of these trades for Dallas. I think Elam makes more sense because he's younger, but I think either way, the other team is winning here because the Bills upgrade their 6th round pick to a 5th round pick. It's not like a big deal, but they're getting rid of a guy that they're going to probably cut anyway. Same thing with Tennessee. I don't think Murray was going to stay there. He's horrible. So Dallas is downgrading their draft picks. I imagine you're happy as an Eagles fan that this is happening. So any thoughts on these moves?
Yeah, they're kind of inconsequential to some extent. These guys are dumb. Why are you making these trades? And I don't know. Maybe it's Elam is fine. I think maybe Elam's worth actually. Yeah, maybe he's actually worth a 5th round pick or something. So I don't know. Maybe that's fine. Maybe I think the trade's not as bad as you think it is, but it's like this is not going to move the needle. This is not going to do anything for your team. So
yeah,
you're just filling in spots. I think teams. I feel like teams used to do this more. I feel like the last couple of years, it felt like teams would swap. I guess maybe it's kind of moved more to the preseason. In August, you'll see these kind of trades happen sometimes where it's where the teams are just trading backup players, just because they need a warm body at a particular position. It's I'll trade my 6th guard for your 6th wide receiver, whatever.
Right.
So I feel like that used to happen more this time of year, but that doesn't really happen that much anymore. It does happen a little bit in the preseason in August before kind of big cuts, but even then, I don't feel like this happens as much as it used to.
Yeah, not saying never a good scheme fit McDermott's defense. Dallas is heavy zone, so I don't understand why they want him. He's athletically gifted though, so I won't give up on him. Yeah, he was so bad though. Was he going to make your roster anyway? I don't know. Maybe, but I feel like only because it was a 1st round pick. If you were drafted 3rd in the 3rd round or 4th round and you had the same production, he probably would have been gone already.
So,
yeah. Just kind of not realizing it's sunk cost, but at the same time, look, they upgraded a pick on day 3. So and they also got a 7th round pick. So it's not totally irrelevant, but it's mostly relevant. So they got some resources out of it. So might as well salvage something out of it. Also, yeah, we talked about this trade yesterday. So I was kind of confused by it. I'm curious to hear if you have any explanation for this. The Texans, they got Chauncey Gardner-Johnson for the Eagles for Kenyon Green. Now, Gardner-Johnson has issues in the locker room, but it didn't really affect them last year. They won the Super Bowl after all. How much of a distraction could it have been? And Kenyon Green's been the worst starting guard in the NFL, but he is 24. And I heard this stat and it kind of brought things into perspective. There's a guard, one of the guards this year is probably going to go in the 3rd round or so. He is 6 months younger than Kenyon Green. So Kenyon Green, he could easily be in this draft class. But he's been awful. So what are your thoughts on this trade?
Kenyon Green first, he was drafted. He was 20 years old. He was drafted. Pretty crazy. And so I think a lot of people see him as sort of as last year's Mekhi Becton, like first round pick bust. He's the kind of guy the Eagles like in the interior, like the guard position. They like the kind of the big bruising, kind of massive with lateral, athleticism kind of guy. And Mekhi Becton fit that. Mekhi Becton was a total bust with the Jets and was awesome for the Eagles this past year. And so maybe he's sort of that. I do think though Becton was better with the Jets than what Green has been with the Texans. So I don't know. I think Tyler Steen is probably going to be the starter at right guard for the Eagles, and so I think they're just it appears they're just he's going to be just a backup role, maybe competes for the job, but yeah, who knows? I don't think the Eagles did trade because they wanted to get Kenyon Green though. I think they were just dumping Gardner Johnson. Like at the end of the day, I don't think they woke up and said, "Man, we really want to get Kenyon Green." I think they could have gotten him for a lot less than. I think they were just like, "Hey, we need to if we outright cut CJ, that cost us more against cap here, and to try to push the dead money into the next year, which Howie Roseman likes to do. Let's trade. If you trade him, then there's less dead money to deal with. So
right."
And real cash savings. It's like basically at the end of the day, I think the Eagles just realized we don't want this guy. You got to think about it. Like they've had him in the locker room now twice, and both times after 1 year move on from him. And like, and Howie Roseman kind of read the market the first time properly. Like CJ thought he was worth a lot more, and the Eagles made him an offer. After the 2022 season, he didn't take it. Went to Detroit in a 1 year deal. And then Detroit, by all accounts, didn't really make any effort to try to re-sign him after the 2023 season. So, or they made little effort. So, it seems like, and then the Saints dumped him for pretty much nothing before that. So it's like every team he's been with has like moved on from him, when they had the opportunity. So I wonder if there's just more to the story. Like the Twitter stuff, like as a fan, I love it. Like I just think it's entertaining. I think it's great. I love the energy it brings. I love the swagger, but I do wonder: is there just a point where the team internally it does sound like the beat reporters from the Eagles are saying there's just a lot of it's high maintenance, a lot of management, and you got to wonder if they're just like, listen, is this guy really part of our future? Do we want to pay him big bucks? If we don't want to pay him, and he's kind of a headache, let's just move on for him now. So that's what it seems like they did. It seems like they just wanted to move on from him. It didn't seem like this wasn't a cap savings thing. This wasn't I think it was just, they didn't really I don't know. He's still a relatively young player. He's a good player. I just think it seems like the Eagles just said, we're ready to move on from this guy and we'll just figure it out without him.
It's like a hot girl who keeps going for boyfriend to boyfriend every week. It's like she can't hold a relationship. It's like what's going on here? It's kind of like that. Remember, Brandon Cooks was like that too. Remember, he used to bounce from team to team too. But I don't know. At the same time, he did help them win the Super Bowl. So it's it's still a little weird. And by the way, it's kind of interesting that the Eagles could have had Kenyon Green too. They had the 15th pick, which was when he was taken. They went up to 13 to get Jordan Davis, and then Kenyon Green went 15. So it's kind of funny. Yeah.
I think sometimes whatever it looks like the the Eagles have identified the players that they want to build around going forward.
Mm-hmm.
You look at they're going to have to they're going to have to spend some big bucks on some players coming up pretty soon. You look at the players they've got. Jalen Carter will probably be, when he signs his contract extension in the next year, he will probably end up being the highest paid non-quarterback in the NFL. It's going to be that kind of contract. And they've got Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean in the secondary. They're going to have to pay both of those guys big monies at some point. It's still 2 years away, but it does seem like the Eagles are maybe planning for big spending in tying up the guys they currently have, and are kind of wanting to shed some monies. And it looks like that's what's the case. That's the Dallas Goedert, rumor is really based around, let's just shed some salary here and save some money to pay these guys that we want to lock up long term.
Yeah. Speaking of money. This is real quick. It's kind of sad. I played the showdown tonight in the Timberwolves Knicks game. I think I was like when the show began, I was second place, and now I'm 331st. So talk about loss of money there. Kind of sad moment for me. All right, let's jump over. By the way, before we get to these signings, you're totally right about Jalen Carter. He's going to be like the highest paid player. Imagine like if Milton Williams got 104 million. Imagine what Jalen Carter is going to get.
It's going to be insane.
Yeah, it's going to be astronomical. Carter already working on his rough draft to send to fans so he can get 50 million a year. Yeah. 100%. It's gonna be crazy, especially with these new TV deals, streaming deals the NFL is going to get. Like the salary cap's just going to go through the roof too. So yeah, his contract's gonna be like 300 million. It's gonna be crazy. But I don't know.
It would not surprise me if he ends up signing like a 8-year deal worth like $400 million. I'm not. I think that's where he's going to be.
Yeah, 100%. All right, let's get to the free agency signings we had today. The most recent one, Mac Jones went to the 49ers, 2 years, $7 million. It's kind of funny here because the rumors ahead of the 2021 draft was that the Niners were going to draft Mac Jones, and they ended up with Trey Lance, which like either way it was going to be a bust. But at least like Mac Jones had a solid rookie year, and last year he stepped in for Trevor Lawrence. He actually had some decent games. He had some horrible games too, but he was okay at times. I like this because, Kyle Shanahan liked him the whole time, and now he gets to he gets to have his toy, just basically for free. Backup quarterbacks and mediocre ones usually make like $4 million per year, so this is even less than that. So I actually like the signing because Mac Jones is still like relatively young. They get to groom him, and if something happens to Purdy, they get to have a young quarterback here. So I like this move. It's not going to like move the needle too much, but yeah, it's a cheap deal. And they got a guy with some potential. What do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, he's signing to be a decent. The play he's best at. The play he's best at running is a screen pass. That's not a good thing. So that's his best pass. So he's really good at lofting it over the guards.
Hey, look, some quarterbacks can't do that.
That's right. Not all the quarterbacks could. Donovan McNabb always struggled to throw the screen effectively. He's always inaccurate on the short, easy passes.
Yep. He would sail the ball like 10 yards over the player's head when he tried to do a screen.
Or he'd do the worm ball, right? He'd throw the ball out the guy's feet. And
Yep. I would love to see like a breakdown of like McNabb's completion percentage for like screen passes versus like other throws. Yeah. It's got to be like the other throws that like has to be so much higher. All right. We have a Chargers signed Mike Williams, 1 year, $6 million. I know you hate Mike Williams. Everyone hates Mike Williams. Jets fans hate Mike Williams. No one likes this guy. But he was a big producer for the Chargers when healthy. Now, granted, he wasn't healthy a lot.
When healthy is a major caveat.
Yeah, last year was a disaster, but he was coming up torn ACL. So I like that he has familiarity with the Chargers, Justin Herbert. So it's going to be an easy transition, even though it's like a new system. It's still like he's gonna have familiarity with Herbert, which I think is pretty key. He's now another year removed from the torn ACL, so I think he's going to be better than he was last year. It's like low barbs, so he's going to be better. There's no risk to this deal. Well, maybe there's no risk to any deal, but at this point, but for the Chargers who like don't spend a lot of money, there's no risk to this deal. And they need an upgraded receiver. So 1 year, $6 million, no risk, some upside. I like this deal, but I imagine you don't like it as much.
Yeah, I mean it's like I don't know. I guess it's fine. That's my.
I think that's the best. I think that's the best thing you've ever said about Mike Williams.
He had like about a 7-game stretch where he was a decent player.
Yeah.
And he was a first-round pick. He's a top 10 pick, wasn't he?
He was top 5. No, he was number 7, I think, in his draft class. I think.
What a bum.
He has not lived up to expectations.
What year was that? 2018? 2017?
Might have been. I don't know. I'm gonna check.
I don't remember.
So Mike Williams was drafted. Let's see. He was drafted in. Doesn't say.
No, 2018 the Josh Allen trade.
2017 NFL draft. He was 7th overall.
Yeah.
Looks like. That was the Myles Garrett year. So that year was obviously, you know, he had Mahomes, Deshaun Watson. The draft went Myles Garrett, Mitchell Trubisky, somehow Solomon Thomas, Leonard Fournette, Corey Davis, Jamal Williams, Mike Williams. Jamal Adams, Mike Williams. And then he had Christian McCaffrey, John Ross, Patrick Mahomes. Imagine being John Ross. You're sandwiched between McCaffrey and Mahomes. It's like good job, Cincinnati. Nice pick there.
Nice pick there, yeah.
There are a lot of good players in this draft. Like starting it, like it's funny, like at the top, except for Garrett at the top, like you had a bunch of bums. And Fournette had some good years, but you know he's out of the league now. You had like Trubisky and Solomon Thomas and you know Corey Davis and Jamal Adams. Like once you get past those guys, you have McCaffrey, you have Mahomes, you have Marshawn Lattimore, you have Hassan Reddick, you have Marlon Humphrey, you have Jonathan Allen, you have Adoree Jackson, you have Garrett Bowles, Evan Ingram. I know you don't like Ingram, but you know still. Tre'Davious White was good for a while, then he got hurt. David Njoku, TJ Watt, 30th, Ryan Ramczyk, 32nd. Like this draft had some really good players, but like none in like the top 7 except for Garrett.
Jamal Adams was okay for a bit.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was. To be fair, yeah. Then he went to Seattle and just, you know, it's just became a bum. So
yeah.
Anyway, all right. Let's get to the next signing here, which was Redskins signed Dietrich Weiss, 1 year, $5 million. This another guy too. Let's do both of these. Redskins signed Jonathan Jones, 1 year, $5.5 million. These are both Patriot players. So kind of like curious why both Patriot players went there. Like trying to figure out like why, like is there a connection there? But these are both 30-something-year-old New England guys. They're definitely past their primes, but you know Weiss could still have like maybe one good season. Jones maybe two. I'm less optimistic on Jones because he struggled last year and kind of like coincidental. Like Belichick leaves and suddenly he like has his worst year. But maybe Dan Quinn gets these guys to play well for 1 year. I like these moves. You know, it's just 1 year. You know, I am a new Redskins fan after all, so. I have to cheer on and just be a homer. So, any thoughts on this?
These are just, I think, similar. Like these are fine players. These are guys are rotational pieces, depth. They can step in and like. But if you're relying on these kinds of players to be your premier starters and give you great production, like that's not what you're paying for, right?
Yeah.
And you're paying $5 million. You're paying for, you know, I need okay. I need okay production. I need a decent rotational player, and that's what they are. That's fine. I mean, the Redskins look like they're trying to build. The biggest thing for the Redskins is Jaden Daniels taking the next step. That's it. Mm-hmm. Him progressing in his, or taking the next step in his progression, his evolution as an NFL quarterback. If he does that, you just need the rest of the team to be, you know, decent and not have any major flaws, major holes. And so these kind of signings just make sure you have decent depth. You don't have any major holes, so that you don't have to, you know, reach in the draft.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's definitely true. All right, Titans signed
helpful findings for sure.
Yeah. Titans signed Draymond Jones, 1 year, $10 million. I think the signing would have been good a few years ago, but he's declined. He did not play all that well in Denver. He's 28, so he's still young enough to rebound, but like it's kind of silly to give a declining player $10 million. You know. I'd imagine that like not all this is guaranteed. Like we don't have all the details, but not a fan of this move. I gave it a C. What do you think?
Yeah, I would have thought this would have been like the wise, like a 1 year, $5 million. So this feels double of what it ought to be.
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, good for him. Good for him that he's making double what he should. I wish I could make double. I wish I could make double what what I'm actually worth.
That would be nice. All right, so wish I could make what I am worth. Panthers signed Rico Dowdle, or Doodle as we call him on the show. 1 year, $6.25 million. I like to move a lot. Doodle was not bad last year. He was good in the passing game. Feels like he's a good complement to Chuba Hubbard, and they needed a running back because Jonathan Brooks he got hurt again, unfortunately. So I don't know if he's going to play next year. So Carolina having like a decent 1-2 punch here with Hubbard and Dowdle, Doodle, whatever you want to call him. It's good. I think it's a good move. What are you thinking for fantasy? Like, what, you know, any interest in Doodle here?
You're higher on him than I am. I think he's a mediocre at best. You got a bunch of volume. I think we're gonna look back in 10 years and be like, 2024 was this guy's best season. And so I think he's okay. He's fine. Feels like an overpay, but it's not terrible. I am a little surprised that the Cowboys didn't make more effort to keep him. Like he felt like he fit there. He felt like he fit the offense, fit the culture of the team. He obviously was very productive for them. I'm a little surprised they didn't make more of an effort to keep him.
Well, they signed Javonte Williams for 1 year, $3 million. What do you think about that one?
Yeah, I mean, like it's fine. Javonte Williams. Once upon a time, we thought the guy was going to be a premier player, and injuries and maybe just sort of just general work ethic or mental stuff or head case. I don't know. For whatever reason, he kind of fell apart. So, yeah, I think 1 year, $3 million is fine. It's what you pay for that kind of guy. If he's healthy and if he's mentally right and willing to work hard, I mean, it could be excellent, running back. So I think that's worth a shot. But I still would have. I'm surprised that the Cowboys didn't make an effort to keep Donald. He seemed to fit there.
Speaking of Raymakers, which we touched on earlier, that was one of the first 2 elite cards I ever had. Was Javonte Williams. I had Trevor Lawrence and Javonte Williams. Remember, he needed like 3 elites and 1 and 2 rares, or maybe it was like 4 and 1. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna get Trevor Lawrence, who's that year in 2022, he's throwing a lot, and he actually did well that year. And then Javonte Williams, and like this guy is looking great as a rookie. Like I think he's gonna be a star, in Denver's offense. And then he tears his ACL. It was like the week after I got his card, so that was a sad moment. Anyway, keep talking about losing money, and now in that showdown, I'm now 698, almost second for a second.
Excellent.
Yeah, as long as I cash, right? So Jets signed Josh Myers, 1 year, $3.5 million. When I first saw this, I'm like, are they getting him to be a starter? I thought they had Tippmann, but no, this is a cheap deal. So this is just going to be a backup here, which is fine. He was not a good starter, but as a backup, I think it's pretty good. I'd be more excited about this if like the Jets were a contender of any sort, but they might be the worst team in the NFL. Let me see what they do at quarterback, but yeah, I mean, they have Justin Fields. I don't know if they're going to draft someone, but I actually, and by the way, I saw something on Twitter today. It was FanDuel posted it, and they had a picture of Justin Fields, Breece Hall, and Garrett Wilson, and they asked, "Can you name a better trio?" I was like, "Can I not name a better trio?"
Oh man.
Any thoughts of this, or maybe Panthers signing Christian Rosenboom, who was he got torched a lot in Carolina. Like he was bad in coverage, bad against the run. It feels like if they need him to start, I think that's bad. It's not going to be very good for them. Any thoughts on these 2 signings?
Yeah, Myers. I mean, I think you're paying paying your backup center $3.5 million feels a little more than you should. But Myers also played guard. Has played guard. He was predominantly a guard in college, I believe, right? And so before moving to center, and so he's the kind of guy that can play both center and guard, and that gives you a little more versatility. So maybe it's worth it there. Yeah, it's backup. Yeah, the Panthers signing a linebacker here, like has he been has he ever been made a tackle? Has he been I don't remember ever seeing this guy do anything on any point of watching a game. So I'm like, was he there?
I feel like I've always seen tight ends just running by him.
I'm like, I don't know. Is this guy good?
The Rams are so bad against tight ends last year. I mean, he was one of the reasons why. So, like I said, if he has to play, this is bad. But if they signed him for special teams and occasional backup, that's fine. But
the thing is, I mean, I'm not saying I've watched a bunch of Rams games last year or whatever, right? But I did watch them. I probably saw 5 or 6 Rams games last year, maybe more. 2 of them I watched very closely. I never heard his name once in a single broadcast, so I can't remember Rosenboom ever being mentioned.
I've always heard him mentioned in a negative light, so I've never seen him make a good play. All right, Chargers re-signed Denzel Perriman, so this is a much better linebacker re-signing. And when Perriman's out of the lineup when his team sucks against the run, because he's such a good run stuffer. But when he's out, the Chargers had a stretch last year of 4 or 5 games where they couldn't stop the run, and those are the games that Perriman was out. And so he's 32, so he's going to be on the decline. But like having this like specialist to be able to help against Iran, I think it's pretty good. So it's only 1 year, no real risk here. So I like this move a lot.
Yeah, so he fits what they want to do, fits what the coaching staff wants to accomplish there. It's great. And not a lot of money.
Yep, exactly. Titan side Kevin Zeitler, 1 year, $9 million. So I give this an A+ or a D, right? I think
wow. What?
So I think this grade depends on what they do, like what their goal is. So if they draft Cam Ward #1 overall or Shedeur Sanders, whatever, I think this is an A+ signing because they get to protect their young quarterback, which is very key. We saw Caleb Williams last year, and like granted he held the ball a long time, but he did have some bad blockers in front of him. So if you get a good protection for a rookie quarterback, you're going to help him develop, and you're not going to get a David Carr that we saw in Houston get sacked like a million times. But if they go the veteran route and they kind of like punt the season away, like if they sign like not even Aaron Rodgers, if they sign like Russell Wilson or something, and then they don't draft the quarterback in the first round, they just draft the quarterback in like the third round. I think the signing would be terrible because like it's like almost counterproductive in what they want to do. Because if they're going the veteran route and they want to tank for 2026 and maybe get Arch Manning, then it's like Kevin Zeitler is going to help you like be more competitive because he's a really good guard. So I really think this grade really depends on what they do at quarterback.
I think your logic is odd.
How so?
I mean, I like at the end of the day, if I'm a Titans player, like Titans front office, I just want to try to have a decent player for good amount of money. Like Kevin Zeitler, I mean, he is old. I think he's collecting. I think he's the vice president of the AARP at this point, right?
I mean, 7 years younger than us, but yeah.
I mean, in football terms, he's old.
Yes.
And so, he's 35 years old. So it's like whatever, But you're getting a really good player for not a lot of money. In terms of NFL dollars. Like I don't know. I think it's a good signing.
Well, if you don't like this, you're not going to like one of the Brown signings that we'll get to in a little bit. But the Seahawks signed DeMarcus Lawrence, 3 years, $42 million. I give this a D. I would have given this an A+ a few years ago, but he's now 33. He barely played last year. Like, what are the Seahawks thinking they're going to get from this guy? I don't understand it. Yeah, I think maybe this could be an F. I don't know. I mean, he used to be such a good player. Yeah, who knows? Like, maybe their coaching staff gets one good year out of him. I don't know. I really don't see it. They did sign Sam Darnold, so I guess they're going all in, even though they traded Metcalf. What do you think? Am I too high here with a D?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't get it. Like, what's the point?
Yeah,
like, I don't. I think to some extent, I don't know. They just like some teams just sign players to sign. I don't know the reasoning. It doesn't make any sense. And I don't know what the Seahawks are doing. I don't know what their plan is. Like, I have no idea.
Yeah, we had that question in the chat yesterday. It's like I forget who asked it, but they're like, are they tanking or are they going for the Super Bowl this year? It's like I just don't know. It's so weird.
You're not going to accomplish either one, to be honest. So.
Yeah, because like they have 1 foot in, 1 foot out.
Yeah,
just like never where you want to be in the NFL. Like choose a direction and just kind of stick to it. So, what do you think about the Sam Darnold deal, by the way?
It was fine. I mean, like I don't think Sam Darnold's great, but it is what it's fine. It doesn't make any sense to me. Like I think you were better off with Geno Smith, but
you think?
But
I mean, Geno's 35 though. Sam Darnold's 28.
That's true. I don't think either one. I don't think Sam Darnold's that good either. Like, you're not winning anything with either of those guys. So, like, neither one of those guys are winning any playoff games. So,
I had this debate so many times. I have to ask you: was Geno Smith a top 15 quarterback?
Top 15?
Yeah.
I gotta get the list of quarterbacks and make sure.
I love that. Tom and I, who's the co-host on Saturday, he and I joke about this all the time. It's like, yeah, you know all the players in the NFL, but like as soon as like someone's like, can you name like 10 running backs right now? And you're like, I can't think of one running back at all. You just need like the list.
Top 15? Probably not. No, I don't think so.
I've had such crazy arguments with people who are like adamant that he's a top 15 quarterback, and I'm like, I ranked him 22nd right now in the league. Like, and this is like projecting for the future, which I think you have to do,
Yeah.
because this is a trade that they made, and so you're not like making the trade be like, oh, this guy was great, so we were going to make this trade thinking that he's going to do exactly what he used to do. But you have to be like, okay, what's this guy going to do for us in the next 2-3 years? And
I'm just thinking about 2025. Like, what's he going to do? Me? What's he like in going into 2025? And I think I'm counting. For I can do this quickly. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Can you list off the names just so we have
Okay, all right, guys. That I think are better than him.
I'll count.
Brock Purdy, Matthew Stafford, Kyler Murray, Justin Herbert, Patrick Mahomes, Bo Nix, Baker Mayfield, Kirk Cousins, Trevor Lawrence,
okay,
C.J. Stroud, Jordan Love, Jared Goff, Caleb Williams, Justin Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Tua, Dak, Jalen Hurts, Jaden Daniels. All those guys are definitely better. How many is that?
20.
And then I think there's a couple guys that are questionable. Like, is he better than Anthony Richardson? Like Anthony Richardson, I just think sucks.
Yeah,
I have no confidence. Bryce Young, is he better than Bryce Young? Bryce Young's probably better, right? But maybe not.
Tom also said he likes Bryce Young more. I've asked multiple people to go through the list. Yeah, he had Bryce Young better.
So Geno is between 20 and 23 for me.
I had him 22. So I think he's firmly 20 to 25.
Yeah.
The two guys you had on your list that I didn't were Kirk Cousins, because he looked so washed last year, and Tua just because he can't stay healthy. But I think I had a couple guys that you didn't have on the list. I can't remember who it was exactly. Like, did you have Drake May or Kyler Murray?
I had Murray, but not Dre.
Okay. I think I don't know. I mean,
Drake May's probably better than them too. Actually, you're probably right.
Yeah. I think Drake May is. So yeah, I mean, look, he's 21. He's 20 to 25 somewhere in there. And maybe Slew saying he'd rather have a Geno 40 than Darnold 22. I imagine so. That's a shot at Darnold, not praise for Geno. But yeah, I mean, look, Darnold is not going to have Kevin O'Connell in Seattle. He's not going to have Justin Jefferson. Now he does have Jackson Smith-Njigba, which Jackson Smith-Njigba versus Jordan Addison. I think JSN is a little bit better. But, they're pretty close. But he also had T.J. Hawkinson. He also had a really good offensive line. Like, he's not going to have that in Seattle at all. All he's going to have is JSN. So it's I don't like this move. I don't think it really projects well for Seattle. But and John saying the advanced analytic nerds are high on Geno. Every time, like in these arguments, they're like, look at the advanced analytics on Geno. I'm like, I don't need to. I watched him play.
Sure, I have eyeballs.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's fine. He's like a subpar starting quarterback. He's not terrible. He's not good. Like stop giving me these like advanced analytics crap.
I think Geno is such a case, and like, so we see this so often. Like, you mentioned John Ross earlier being drafted in between, Christian McCaffrey and Patrick Mahomes, right? Is that what you think it was?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think to myself, like, if John Ross is drafted by a different team with a different coaching staff, like, is his career trajectory totally different? Because he was blazing fast and had, so much athleticism, but was the situation just terrible? And I wonder, like, Geno Smith, like, he had moments with the Jets early in his career where, like, you saw some things like, oh, like, that's unique. Like, his ability to escape the pocket, like some of the throws he can make, like there's some things about him that you're like, wow, that's special. But then he gets punched in the mouth and breaks his jaw and misses misses a couple months because his wide receiver punches him out. Wasn't it Brandon Marshall that punched him? No.
I don't
it
know.
was a linebacker.
I forgot all about that.
I remember he was going to be the starter. Like he had a decent. I think it was his rookie year. He played. He was decent. maybe it was his second year. And then going into his third year, like he was ready to. Like it looked like he was ready to kind of take some steps forward. Then he got in a fight in the locker room and he got punched and broke his jaw and he missed a big chunk and lost a bunch of weight and couldn't work out because his mouth was shot, wired shut. And then Ryan Fitzpatrick came in and took the starting job, and the Jets won 10 games that year, I think, with Brandon Marshall.
Mm-hmm.
So like that was like Turds R Us roster. I mean, that was just like anyway.
Is IK Enokpali was the guy who punched him.
And so you're like you wonder does the whole trajectory? Not saying Geno Smith would have been a Hall of Famer. I'm just like that totally changed the trajectory of his career. That getting punched out was pretty crazy.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think there are certain instances where you could say a guy's definitely going to be worse or better in this situation. But I think there are certain players who are like always going to be great or always going to be terrible. Like Mahomes, right? I mean, he's got a perfect situation with Andy Reid. But if he goes to a crap organization, he's not going to be a bust. He's going to be really good, but he's not going to be the best quarterback in the NFL. Maybe he's going to be like in the top 5, And then with John Ross, he wasn't a real football player. They just drafted him because of his 40. So I don't think he would have done a lot better on certain teams. Like maybe he would have been a little bit better, but this is Cincinnati before Joe Burrow, so they're kind of a mess.
Yeah.
So
I think for quarterbacks, it's just so much of the system you're in. Are they able to modify the system to fit your skill set? Does the coach know how to utilize what you do? Does the coach does the coordinating and the coaching staff know how to build confidence, teach you how to develop in your accuracy? Like so much of it is I think about Tom Brady. Tom Brady was going to be great no matter what because of the kind of guy he was. But I think we just we underrate. It's easy to dog on Bill Belichick, but Bill Belichick was a really good coach. He knew how to teach and he put players in the right position for them to maximize their skill set. He knew how to build a game plan that would get the most out of players. He's one of the best coaches of all time. And so if Tom Brady was with the Bengals in 1999, who knows? Maybe he doesn't come close to being what he was. So I think for quarterbacks, so much of the situation does shape. And I do wonder for Geno Smith, again, I don't think he was phenomenal, but I think he's better than what his career has been over the last, 10, 15 years.
It's a good example of that what you're talking about is Alex Smith, because when he first got to the 49ers, he was dreadful. That it was a bad organization at the time. And then Jim Harbaugh comes along and he kind of saves his career. And then he goes to the Chiefs with Andy Reid and he gets to the playoffs multiple times. So it's kind of like a perfect example of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was also in a situation where he had a different offensive coordinator 5 years in a row.
Yeah.
And the 1 year he had Norv Turner, he was awesome that 1 year.
Yeah, exactly. So asking who will win more games, Raiders with Geno or Seahawks with Darnold in 2025? I think it's pretty close. I think I'd maybe give the edge to Seattle because the AFC West is suddenly looking really good with Denver adding all these pieces this offseason. I think Seattle with Darnold, but I think it's to be very close. What do you think?
I would lean towards Seattle because I think overall they have a better roster, top to bottom. And the Raiders, I don't know what to make that team. I don't know. We love the tight end. The rest of the team is Max Crosby's good, but the rest of the team, what are we doing with them? I don't know.
Yeah, they should have a good defensive line, but that's what I said last year. And Kuntz was knocked out for the year, and then Wilkins got hurt in week 4, and Crosby was banged up, so it didn't work out. I think they're going to be better than they were last year, especially with Geno. Geno's definitely better than Minshew and AOC, but still, it's they still have a lot of issues there. Although Pete Carroll's going to be a better coach too. All right, let's go forward here. Speaking of former Eagles, Steelers signed Darius Slay, 1 year, $10 million. I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this. I give it a B+ because maybe it's a slight overpay, but the Steelers believe that they can go deep into the playoffs this year if they maybe get Aaron Rodgers or something. I don't know. Maybe that's optimistic on Rodgers, but this team gets to the playoffs every year, or at least they have a winning record every year. And they traded for DK Metcalf, so their offense can be better. So a cornerback was one of their weaknesses. And they got Slay for 1 year. He's not what he used to be, but he was pretty decent last year. What do you think about the signing?
I mean, I thought Slay was very good this past year. So he still can play at a very high level. Yeah, he's not quite what he was in his best year in Detroit or his best year in Philly, which is 2021. But he was still very good, and he's still a good leader. I think it's a good sign. If you think, now I don't think this, but if you think the Steelers are legitimate Super Bowl contenders and that they're just kind of like a couple pieces away, well, then overpaying a little bit for a cornerback is fine, because hey, you need that final piece to try to get over the hump. Like, that's great. So from that perspective, it's a great signing. I just don't think they're just, even if they were going to get Aaron Rodgers, I don't think they're a legitimate Super Bowl contender. I think this roster's got enough holes, a lack of depth, and I'm just not sure Mike Tomlin's as good as we think he is. Like, I don't know.
Okay.
People are like, oh, he's never had a losing record. I'm like, he's been mediocre for 12 years, 13 years. Like, who cares? Like, he won a Super Bowl back in 1956. Like, this is dumb.
Well, he's had some bad quarterbacks too. I feel like given the ratio of quarterback talent he's had to wins, like he's had some bad ones. Like, he's gone to the playoffs with Kenny Pickett and Mason Rudolph and decrepit Russell Wilson, decrepit Roethlisberger. Like, if you give him a good quarterback, like, where's that? Like, how good would the team be? He hasn't had a good quarterback since Roethlisberger's prime. So I'd like to see him with a good quarterback, but I just don't see how they're going to get there, unfortunately, for Steelers fans.
Yeah.
The AFC West, the first division to ever have an all-conference champion winning coaches. It's kind of crazy. The coaching staff in the AFC West with Andy Reid, Jim Harbaugh, Pete Carroll, and Sean Payton. Lots of playoff success there. So I don't know if that's the first one, but definitely up there.
Jim Harbaugh's the only one who's not won a Super Bowl.
Yeah, and he almost did. All right, so Lions signed Levi Onwuzurike for 1 year, $5.5 million. He didn't play much before last year, but he had a good year. He doesn't have much experience, so it's like a 1 year prove-it deal. He's 27. I think the signing has a lot of upside. Quick thoughts on this one?
Yes, I agree. I like the 1 year prove-it deal.
Yeah. All right. This is another guy you don't like, so maybe you're going to disagree with this grade. Broncos signed Evan Ingram, 2 years, $23 million. Sean Payton gets his next, the Jimmy Graham, I guess. Evan Ingram is 31. Wow. I'm just saying in the role, it's not like Jimmy. He's not going to be prime Jimmy Graham. I'm just saying in the offense, because especially when compared to the tight ends that they had last year. Like, Lucas Kroll was their starting tight end. Like this is a huge upgrade. Even an Ingram hater would agree that this is a big upgrade. So he's 31, so that's the downside. But he is a receptionist machine. He's going to be someone that Bo Nix can count on. I think this definitely makes Denver better. How much better? Maybe you'll argue, but I think that I like this move for
a teeny tiny bit better.
Well, giving a young quarterback more weapons is never a bad thing. Sure. And 2 years, $23 million is not like breaking the bank. So what do you think about this?
I guess the tight end position is like increasing in value. I don't know. Like, this feels like an overpay, but maybe it's not. Maybe this is going to be the going rate for tight ends going forward now. This feels high.
I guess so. I mean, tight ends have been paid a lot in recent years, I feel like.
Good ones.
Yeah. Well, like Hunter Henry got what, like 3 years, $30 million or something?
Yeah, that's true.
We've seen a lot of like highly paid tight ends recently.
At least at one point in Henry's career, he was good. At least in the past, he was good.
Man, I don't know what Ingram did to you or something.
I just like everyone talks about how great this guy is, and it's just like Evan Ingram, to me, he's like Star Wars. Everyone talks about how great it is. It's great. It's great. It's great. It's great. It's great. Oh my gosh! And then you watch, you're like, that's it. That's all it is.
It depends which Star Wars. Are you talking episode 5 and 6, or are you talking about like
all of them?
You can't lump all of them together. Like,
they're all mediocre.
You can't say they're all mediocre because, like, look, even if
actually some of them are bad and some are mediocre.
Yes. Okay, that's what I was about to say. Like, you can't lump episode 5 and 6 with 7 through 9. The 7 through 9 is complete garbage. Granted, I didn't see 9. 8 was so bad, I just didn't want to see 9. I'm someone who went to see all the movies. Like obviously not the older ones, because I'm not I'm not that old. But episodes 1, 2, and 3, and 7 and 8, yeah, I saw all of them in the movie theater, and I'm not someone who goes to the movies a lot. And I was like legit excited to for episodes 2 and 3 to come out, and then like when episode 7 was like about to come out, I was like, wow, this is awesome. I can't wait to go. Like I went with my wife and my friend, the guy we used to have the same outfit, and his girlfriend. So we went to the movies to see episode 7. And it's kind of like underwhelming, and like maybe episode 8 will be better. Episode 4 was like the weak link of the original trilogy, even though it was still a decent movie. And then we saw episode 8, and it was just like I walked out of the theater. I'm like, this is horrible. Like I don't want to see episode 9. I never saw it. So like my point is you can't lump the future movies with the original trilogy. Like, even if you don't like the original trilogy, like 7 and 8 were just so much worse than the others.
Yeah. Anyway, Evan Ingram is fine. He's fine.
Rogue One was the only new one I liked. I didn't even like Rogue One. I thought
I think that's the only one I've liked as well, John. Actually, that's literally of all the ones I've seen. I've not seen all of them. I've seen most at this point.
I think that's the only one I saw, and I didn't like it. I was like, I'm done with Star Wars until
Rogue One wasn't one of the episodes. It was one of the side stories.
Yes,
yes.
Right. It was like the prequel to episode 4, so in between episodes 3 and 4. Like Vader was barely in it. I was like that was my like that's kind of like criticism of it. It's like you're gonna have like you're gonna have Vader in his prime, and you're barely gonna have him in it. I thought that was stupid. But anyway, no, we can talk about Star Wars another time. Let's get to it. I actually want to know why you think it's mediocre, but we have some more signings to get to. Vikings signed Javon Hargrave, 2 years, $30 million. I think that this is a tough grade because on one hand, Hargrave you saw him with the Eagles. Like he's a good interior disruptor. He's had 26 sacks in the 3 prior seasons to 2024. But on the other hand, he's 32 and he's coming off injury. He barely played last year. So it's like, which one are they getting? If they get the Hargrave pre-2024, this would be a great signing. If they get the Hargrave who barely played last year and is now 32, then this is not a good signing. So what are your thoughts on this as someone who watched Hargrave?
Yeah, I think he was, I thought he was inconsistent with the Eagles in his 3 seasons with the Eagles. I thought he was inconsistent with the Niners in 2023. He had some really great moments, and then there he'd go long stretches where he was kind of just non-existent. And last year with the injury. And so I think his best years were like when he was with the Steelers and maybe his first year with the Eagles. Like it was 2022, the Super Bowl year. He had a lot of good moments that year, certainly. But yeah, I like Javon Hargrave. He's had a lot of good moments, but he's also had moments. He has moments where he kind of gets he can be schemed out. And so I felt like this was a pretty big overpay by the Vikings here. I get the Vikings trying to do. They're trying to just bolster, like as we talked about earlier. Like they think they're a legit Super Bowl contender, even with McCarthy. They think that they're going to make a run, and they want to just make sure they have depth at every position, and that they don't have to, reach for anything in the draft. They can just let the draft come to them. And signing Hargrave is like, even if he ends up not being a great starter, if he ends up just being a rotational defensive tackle, this just ensures they've got depth at the position. And good depth. He's still a good player.
Yeah. Do you think they're a Super Bowl contender? You made it seem like they think they are, but you don't think they are.
I don't think they're legitimately a Super Bowl contender.
Really?
But I don't know what JJ McCarthy is going to be. If he's awesome, then yeah, they will be. They've got a lot of the supporting cast around them. They've added some depth. They've added pieces. I love the Isaiah Rodgers addition. I thought Isaiah Rodgers was one of the Eagles' underrated players in 2024. So yeah, I really like I like the coach. I like the staff around them. It's all going to come down to the quarterback. And if he's great, then yeah, that changes my mind. But who knows? It's hard to say.
I think they are a Super Bowl contender. I mean, people looked at them last year and laughed when they were starting Sam Darnold, and they went 14-3. I think that they definitely are. I think they're a great bet to win the Super Bowl 40-1. McCarthy's too green. Yeah, maybe, but I think he could be better than Darnold. Darnold, I mean, he had a great year, but we saw him before last year. And McCarthy's going to have a great coaching staff. He's going to have a great offensive line. They added 2 Colts linemen. He's going to have Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson is healthy now. Aaron Jones got re-signed. This team looks stacked to me. And Brian Flores' defense is going to be better now with these signings that they've had. I think they are a scary team. I think they are one of the best teams in the NFL, personally. But McCarthy is a question mark, but so is Darnold last year. You know what I mean?
It's all about the quarterback. Yeah, but they won 14 games, but you watch the course of that game, you watch the course of the season, and you're just like they never felt like a dominant team to me. At no point that I ever watched them, I was never ever concerned that they were a legitimate threat to the Eagles going to the Super Bowl. Never. At no point in the year. I thought that about the I thought the Lions were legitimate, obviously. I thought the Rams were legitimate. I thought the Redskins late in the year got my attention. I had no point that I ever considered the Vikings were a legitimate threat to the Eagles going to the Super Bowl. Never. That's how I just because I didn't believe I didn't believe in the quarterback as being a long-term solution or being a real. So if JJ McCarthy's great, and there are guys in that building with the Vikings organization that seem to think he's going to be awesome. So, if they're right, then this team very well could be a Super Bowl contender, and maybe more than we realize.
Yeah, well, McCarthy's great. I think they're definitely put them in the Super Bowl right now. Because the rest of the roster is awesome. Just as long as he's not bad. If he's mediocre, we've seen mediocre quarterbacks go to the Super Bowl all the time. Remember Jimmy Garoppolo led the 49ers to the Super Bowl. If he could be better than Jimmy Garoppolo, they're going to have a chance to go far in the playoffs. It's not a high bar. So we'll see with his health too. That's the big question mark. Is he going to be healthy? But the fact that they haven't signed a quarterback yet, I think that kind of it's a positive. But we'll see. And also, one thing to note from last year, they lost Christian Darrisaw in the middle of the season. It's one of the best left tackles, if not probably after Trent Williams. I think the best left tackle in the NFL right now. And given Williams' age, might be the best left tackle going forward for the next few years. They didn't have him in the entire second half of the season, so he's going to be back. And like I said, they signed Ryan Kelly and Will Fries from the Colts, two really good linemen. They just filled the holes they had on their offensive line. That team's going to be awesome, I think. But we'll see. I mentioned the Browns signing. They signed Malik Collins 2 years, $20 million. So this is the same philosophy I had with Zeitler. Why are you making these signings? Why aren't you tanking? The Browns should be tanking. And the fact that they re-signed Garrett, I gave that a D. Just because by the time Garrett's the best defensive player in the NFL. But by the time they're good and ready to make a Super Bowl run, he's going to be past his prime. He's going to be 30, 33. So I would rather just trade him, get all these picks, restart the rebuilding process. I think that's the better move than re-signing him to this ridiculous contract. Given his age. And then you have Malik Collins here. Same thing. He can get after the quarterback, but he's old. He's 30 already. By the time the Browns are good, he's gonna be out of the Browns organization. So I would rather just tank. Get the first overall pick. Get Arch Manning. Or if Arch Manning doesn't come out, Nussmeier is pretty good. Get one of those guys and start rebuilding for the future. Why are you signing these veterans to high price contracts? They're not gonna be good this year. Do the Browns not know that?
You have a funny rubric for how you gauge and grade signings.
How's this a good signing? How's Garrett a good signing for the Browns? How is he going to help them win the Super Bowl?
I think only one team can win the Super Bowl every year, so I think teams recognize that's hard to do, and so it's I think you have this all or nothing mentality, and I don't think that's necessarily fits the reality of the NFL. Lots of teams go, okay, let's be legitimate. Let's try to be competitive this year. We might not win the Super Bowl, but let's try to be competitive. And paying, you said Myles Garrett's the best defensive player in the NFL. Okay, well, he's going to help you be competitive. So that's why you sign him, because you got fans paying $1 bajillion going to games, and they deserve to see a not total slot product.
It's still gonna be a slot product though. Their roster is terrible. If they traded Garrett, they'd be 1-16, 2-15, right? If they keep Garrett, they're 4-13, 5-12. What does it matter? What does it matter?
I guess the only team, I guess by that mentality, the only team should ever make any signings are the teams that are absolutely definitely great Super Bowl contenders. So it's 3 teams.
No, that's not true. There are a lot of teams that can win the Super Bowl every year. If you just go down the list of the NFL teams that could win the Super Bowl this year by division. You have Eagles and Redskins, right? And I think that every team in the NFC South, NFC, not South, the NFC North can win the Super Bowl this year. Even the Bears, like they have Caleb Williams, like they drafted number one overall. They have good players. They add to their offensive line. It wouldn't surprise me if they made a deep run. I don't think they will, but like they could. So you have 6 teams there. I don't know about any team in the NFC South. The Buccaneers have made they've had some damage in the playoffs. So I don't know if I'd include them, but I think they'd probably be better off tanking. In the NFC West, you have the Niners and Rams, definitely. That's 8 teams. In the AFC East, you have the Bills and the Dolphins. If Tua stays healthy, they're definitely going to be a playoff contender. So that's 10. In the AFC North, you have Bengals with Burrow always. You have Steelers and Ravens. That's what's that?
Steelers
13. I think Steelers have a great defense. They get to the playoffs every year, and they get Metcalf. I think that they can get lucky in the playoffs. They can make a run. So that's 13. I think the Texans and Stroud, maybe if they stop trading their offensive linemen, that's 14. And then the 3 teams in the AFC West that are not the Raiders, that's 17 teams. There are 17 teams that I think legit could win the Super Bowl this year. Okay, if you want to exclude the Steelers, it's fine. That's 16. That's half the league. And it makes sense.
So is your premise only those are the only teams that should be making signings?
I think those teams. Well, no, I think the teams that are not there should be signing cheap players, young players who can maybe turn their careers around. But otherwise, no, they should be trading away resources for draft picks and tanking. I think look at the Saints. Being mediocre is just doing nothing for them. And I guess maybe that's what ownership wants. They don't want to be the Aints. But if you're a fan of the Saints, you're never gonna celebrate a Super Bowl in the next decade or two. Well, maybe 2 decades is a long time, but the next 10 years, they're not gonna be anything.
As long as Derek Carr is their quarterback, they won't be.
Yeah, exactly. If I'm the Saints, instead of making these dumb signings that they made, I'm trading away everyone who has any sort of value, who's not this first or second year. And then I'm tanking. I'm trying to get either Arch Manning, I'm sure he would love to play in New Orleans, or Nussmeier, who's he plays for LSU. And then you start the rebuilding process over. And then with this young quarterback, you have a cheap contract. You can sign whomever you want. Even if your ownership doesn't want to pay for it, and obviously the Saints do, so that's not an issue. And so you get you start to get these young players and you build this core, and I think that's the way you improve. What's the if you're the Browns, what's the point of going 5-12 every year? Your fans get to go see Myles Garrett, okay, but they're never going to win the Super Bowl in the next decade. Just with their strategy.
Although seeing Myles Garrett's entertaining.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah,
but
okay, I hear your rubric. I hear it. I get the. Yeah.
We all know it's gonna be Chiefs Eagles again. maybe.
I don't think with your logic, all these teams could win. Well, in that case, then the Browns to me are not far behind the Steelers in terms of the Steelers have no quarterback. The Browns they have Kenny Pickett. Maybe I don't know. Maybe he's maybe he's Nick Foles.
Kenny Pickett. Steelers had Kenny Pickett too. They're get rid of this guy.
I don't know. I hear what you're saying. I think I just disagree with the premise.
Okay.
I think if you have a player that's good that you can sign at a reasonable rate that you think can help your team be more competitive, then you sign him. And I think Collins is that. So I'm giving the Collins signing a B.
Okay. If I'm the Browns, I trade Garrett. I get the first round pick. I get a second probably and other stuff. And with those picks, you can be great in 3-4 years. Whereas with Garrett, you're going to be subpar at best in the next 3-4 years. I don't think there's any path to the Browns making the playoffs in the next 3 years, unless they draft the quarterback at number 2 and he's a superstar like Jane Daniels. And at that point, it's yeah, okay, sure, and you're just rolling the dice. But I think that most draft analysts would agree there's no Jane Daniels in this class. So I don't know. And think about it this way: if you have next year, you have Arch Manning and Nussmeier coming out, they're probably gonna be 1-2. if like Garrett helps them win enough games that they don't have the number 1 or 2 overall pick, then it's a failed signing, I think, because then you lost out on a franchise quarterback.
Okay, yeah, I get. There's a lot of elements to that though. It's a butterfly effect. Like there's a lot of different things that happen over the course of the year, not just the Garrett signing. Like, I hear what you're saying. It feels too binary to measure it that way.
Yeah, and to go against my point here, you could also try to tank, and it would fail too. Like, remember the Jets ahead of the 2021 NFL draft? It seemed like the entire year they're going to get Trevor Lawrence, and then they beat the Rams randomly, and the Jaguars get Lawrence, and they get Zach Wilson. So like tanking doesn't always work out, but I don't know. I feel like if I'm the owner of the Browns, I'm like I pay the coaches to lose games on purpose, and I guess like you can get in trouble that way, but like just kind of do it under the table. Just make sure, like, hey, we're not. I'm like, I want Arch Manning or Nussmeier at the very least. If you win these games, I'm firing you. just do that. Yeah. Anyway, all right, let's get going here. So speaking of quarterbacks, Redskins re-signed Mariota, 1 year, $8 million. Another former Eagle here. He did a good job in relief of Jane Daniels last year. Maybe this is a bit of an overpay, but I think that he's an above average backup quarterback at the very least. Like, he used to be a starter, So what do you think about this move?
Yeah, it's an overpay, but he's got name recognition, and he's been in the building. They know him. He can do a lot of things in terms of, like, he's got a diverse skill set. He's not great, but he can do a lot of things, average or above average.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's go forward here. Seahawks signed Marcus Valdes-Scantling, 1 year, $5.5 million. I think a year ago I would have given this like a C, but I don't know what happened to him last year. It's so weird that he's played with so many like future Hall of Fame quarterbacks, and then like with Derek Carr, he turned into like this insane playmaker last year. Now it didn't last that long. He got hurt, but he made like for like a 3 or 4 game stretch, like he was making insane plays. He was winning people millions on DraftKings. And like people were playing him at like a high salary eventually, and then he got hurt, unfortunately. So I don't know. I mean, maybe this is a little high, but I was like kind of remembering, like maybe I don't know, maybe something clicked for him, and like he's gonna live up to his potential, because I always felt like he had potential as just like a downfield weapon. He just hasn't lived up to it, but like he did last year for some reason with Derek Carr. I don't know. Maybe with Sam Darnold he can continue that. I don't know. What do you think?
I think he sucks. I think you're crazy. This is a
what happened last year? Was it just a fluke?
Yeah, he had a couple good games. Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I think you could do that.
He was so good that Derek Carr's dad had to learn to pronounce his name.
Like, I mean, yeah, I think he sucks.
Okay, all right, fair enough. All right, Browns signed Cornelius Lucas, 2 years, $10 million. So contrary to the other stuff, I actually like this. Lucas is 34, but if the Browns are drafting a quarterback number 2, which I expect they're going to do, then they have to make sure they can protect the guy. Like, otherwise, like, they're going to get him killed all the time. And Lucas had a solid year for the Redskins last year. Not great, but a lot better than people thought. So I think it's a good signing. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you if you're gonna have a young quarterback, especially, you want to be careful. As we already talked about this, like, rocking a young quarterback's confidence, rocking his confidence early in his career, it can be detrimental.
Yeah, 100%. And then Chargers, I would think we have 2 or 3, 4. We have 4 more. Chargers re-signed Bradley Bozeman, 2 years, $6.5 million. I saw this was like 3 years, $22 million. I was like pretty confused by it, and then it got corrected. It's 2 years, $6.5 million. So that made me feel better about it. Yeah. Bozeman's fine. He's not very good. He run blocks well. He's not a good pass protector, but the Chargers want to run the ball. So I think this is a good signing. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's A+. I think he's above average center. As you say, he's a better run blocker than passer, but it seems like Harbaugh really likes him, and for not a lot of money. I mean, even mediocre centers, interior offensive linemen are making a lot more than that. And so, yeah, I think for that amount of money, I don't know what the actual money is. Obviously, the reported numbers are almost always inflated.
Yeah. It was the initial reporting was 3 years, $36 million. And I was like,
very, very inflated.
I was like, holy crap! All right, Falcons signed Mike Ford, 2 years, $4 million. This is a special team signing, and I wrote this because like Atlanta is they were bottom 10 in special teams. So I gave it a B plus. It was a slow morning. Nothing happened. Like all the action happened late. I was like, all right, fine. I'll grade a special team signing. So quick thoughts on this one.
Yeah, I don't know that I ever heard Mike Ford's name mentioned in a broadcast either.
Well, he said he plays just on fourth down. That's it. All right, Titans signed Van Jefferson, 1 year, $2.5 million. Van Jefferson,
Speaking of wasted signings.
What? Yeah.
Speaking of wasted signings, why is this guy still in the NFL?
He had an 800-yard season one time with the Rams. Now that was in Sean McVay's offense with Matthew Stafford. So it's not going to be Stafford in Tennessee. There's no Sean McVay in Tennessee. He had like 200 yards last year, 220, I think. I don't B-. I think is kind of generous actually in looking at it. What do you think?
Yeah, this guy sucks. I don't know what you're talking about. This guy, he sucks.
All right, last signing that happened today. Dolphins re-signed Tyrell Dodson. I gave this a B plus. He's good in coverage. He's bad against the run, so he's kind of like one of these specialty linebackers that you bring in sub packages. It's okay. B plus, nothing crazy. What do you think? Last signing.
Yeah, similar. Yeah, it's fine. It's slight overpay, but yeah, you want to have a diverse linebacker set if you can. For the Dolphins, you want to keep a guy that can do a couple different things.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Now we got through that. I want to focus on. We had some crazy Saints signings. So it was Chase Young got a huge contract. They gave Juwan Johnson insane amounts of money, and like I don't understand that at all. They did have one good signing with Justin Reed, but the overall theme is like, wait, we thought the Saints were $50 million over the cap or $60 million over the cap, whatever it was, and they're making these signings. And first of all, I think based on these signings, it looks like money laundering to me. Just like why are you giving Juwan Johnson like $34 million? But it's like the overarching question is like, where is this money coming from? Luckily for us, we have a cap expert on here who actually today wrote an article saying the Saints proved the cap is fake. Carr restructured his contract again. You want to take us through this? Obviously, don't give us everything here, you guys. There's a lot of charts here, a lot of great analysis. I read this earlier today, so I urge you guys to go to thecapisfake.com and read it. But you want to give us a brief overview on how the Saints are doing this?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple different maneuvers teams can use to manipulate the cap. The easiest one that most teams use, and the Saints use this a lot, is you just convert base salary into bonus. And so Derek Carr's base salary this year was $30 million. That was going to be slated for $30 million. They just took that $30 million. They took like $28 million and change of it, and they converted it to a bonus, which means they stretch it out over 5 years. So his base salary this year now is $1.2 million. So that counts against the cap, and 1/5 of the $28 million counts against the cap. So it ends up being about $5 million and change, less than $6 million. So his cap number, which was supposed to be and then he had a $10 million roster bonus, which also was going to count against the cap this year. They converted that, so it gets stretched out as well. So his cap number was $51 million, and then it comes down to his cap number is going to be I think it's going to be $20 million this year. So they saved $30 million in cap space just like that. And so literally, and the Saints have done something actually that's pretty interesting. Up to this point, when the teams are restructuring, they have to bring the player in. He actually has to sign the restructuring, which the players always do. Because, the $30 million for base salary, Derek Carr was going to get paid that over the course of the 2025 season anyway. Well, he basically gets $28 million of that $30 million right now, today. So, that's why would he say no to that? But the Saints that have done something actually that we've never seen before. This is the first time. This is the first contract where they actually had a clause in the contract that said, when you sign this contract, we actually can restructure this at any time and push money. And so Derek Carr didn't even need to come in and sign the restructuring. They just restructured it, and he agreed to basically let them restructure. As long as he's making the same amount of money or more, he doesn't have to sign.
That's crazy.
So it's they proactively knew, listen, we'll save you the trip. Don't come in. We'll just restructure it in the office without you. That's
so funny.
They took $51 million cap and they spread it out, and now his cap is $20 million. They did the same thing with 3 other players. So linebacker Werner, they did it with the center and There was one other player, I can't remember who it is. Anyway,
Okay.
And so they did 3 players. They were able to, and then boom, voila, they went from being $64 million over the cap to having $18 million in salary cap space.
So, like, can they keep doing this indefinitely? Like,
so actually, if anyone's interested, at the very end of the article, I basically say that, yes, I think the answer is yes. Like, they can indefinitely, unless the NFL forces them. Like, people are like, well, they're just kicking the can down the road. That's exactly right. That's exactly what they're doing. But they can indefinitely. There's nothing to force them to stop kicking the can down the road. Like, they kick the can down the road for 3 more years. Okay, when they get to 2028, they'll just do it again. They'll kick it to 2031. Then they'll kick it to 2034. And they can do it into perpetuity, with no without impunity, or with impunity. Sorry, I get my vocabulary wrong. It's just a ridiculous thing. They can just keep doing it. I would imagine, we were talking about this before we started recording, and I didn't say this in the article, but I would imagine there are other NFL owners that don't like this, because it sort of exposes their cheapness. Bengals. Jerry Jones makes way more money than anyone else in the NFL. Like, the Dallas Cowboys made 2x the next, they made $400 million profit last year. The Buffalo Bills made $61 million profit last year. It's just it's really second place. I think the Eagles were 5th place and they made $200 million. And so total profit after all expenses paid. So it's Jerry Jones could easily be doing this. Jerry Jones could throw a ton of money at every player and sign every player if he wanted to, but he doesn't want to. But people don't realize that he could do that, and what the Saints is doing is ultimately going to expose that. So I would imagine that, the Bengals owner, maybe the Bills owner, maybe the Chargers owner, the teams that are the Cardinals, even though they spent a little bit this offseason, the teams that are infamously cheap. Even the Patriots have been mostly cheap for a long time. Robert Kraft has not been a spending owner. Every now and then he randomly throws money out there, but and so it's just a funny thing to think the Saints are doing this. I got to imagine there's some NFL owners thinking we got to put a stop to this. And so maybe at some point in the future, there will be some mechanism put in place that would, and I don't even know what it would be, but some mechanism that would force teams to actually reckon with the money they keep pushing into the future.
I remember back when we started watching, or started really getting into football. I've seen I watched as a kid, but when I first started this website and took it seriously, back then teams used to have these tough restrictions on salary cap. I remember one year it was Tennessee was 50 million of the cap or something, whatever it was, and they had to cut half the roster, and we saw that I think Jacksonville was in a rough spot too one year, and they just had to gut their roster. Do you think was it different back then? Do you know? It's hard to say something that happened 25 years ago, but do you know if it was different back then? And if it was, what they changed to make different?
I don't think there's anything that was different other than I just don't think. I mean, the salary cap was new in 1993, right? 93, and I don't think people realize that 1993 is it's a pretty recent to think about. There was no cap before that, and so. There was no free agency as well, so it was harder. Player movement was harder, but the Niners of the '80s, their payroll was way higher than most teams in the NFL, and so when free agency started in 1993 and their salary cap was implemented, and the first salary cap was $28 million, it's laughable. It's it's going to be almost $300 million now. I just think teams didn't know how to. I just think teams don't know. How to manage the cap. They just didn't realize what they could do. I think a lot of teams it was new and they would spend money and then all of a sudden realize, oh crap, we're we got to get rid of players. And so it was just kind of a messy situation. And then as teams started to navigate it, they started oh, okay, here are these, and there's all sorts of there's all sorts of maneuvers in the cap and nuances and unique. In this situation, you can do this. And there's all sorts of little nuances that have kind of been built out and tweaked over the years, but really it was the Saints was they were the early adopter to to this system in the early 2000s. And it was the Drew Brees contract was the first big, like, we're just going to like keep pushing money. You're in essence borrowing money from future cap charges to pay players this year. And the Saints were kind of ahead of the curve, and now several teams do it. And, the Saints, though, haven't won because they just keep making bad decisions on who they choose to sign.
Derek Carr, for example.
I mean, they signed Derek Carr to a $150 million contract. Come on, Derek Carr sucks. Like, what are you doing? His base salary for next year is $50 million. Like, they're going to cut him before next year. Like, there's no way they're going to pay him $50 million. Like, this is insane. But I just think that's my guess. I don't know for sure. I'm guessing that, like, I just think the salary cap was new. Teams didn't know how to navigate it, and once they kind of figured it out, they okay, now we know how to manage this. And I think at some point they're going to have to change it. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Like, you still have this. The cap was supposed to be a despair, like, even the playing field, but you have, like, the Saints are going to spend. They're going to spend 2x what the Bengals will spend in cash this year. Like, what's the point of the salary cap? Like, the Saints are ahead of the curve.
I noticed that Derek Carr was not one of the quarterbacks you named over Geno Smith.
It's questionable.
It's close. It's very close.
I think Geno's probably better.
Derek Carr's had some really good seasons.
Yeah. Carr's got a rocket arm still. I mean, his arm strength is still there.
Yeah.
But he had a really good stretch in Oakland. So
you say he had a good stretch last year when they started 2-0. They destroyed the Panthers and they killed the Cowboys and they almost beat the Eagles in week 3. And then, like, things fell apart for them. They just got so injured.
Yeah. So maybe it'll change. So I just so it's such an interesting situation. The Saints with this language now of, like, we can restructure your base salary anytime. And they just, what do they send them a text message? Like, for Cars, this is great, right? Like, okay, I'm going to get $30 million over the course of the season. Instead, now all of a sudden he's got $28 million in his bank account today that he didn't have yesterday. Like, that's pretty good. It's a good life.
Yeah, talk about getting paid X amount of what you're worth.
Like,
what's he getting paid? What's his X?
Oh, yeah, a lot. But by the end of 2025, in the 3 years that he's been on the team, 2025 is his third year, they would have paid him $100 million over 3 years, which, like, 2 years ago seemed like what a ridiculous contract. But if you actually kind of like, okay, 100, if you actually think about it, you're like, well, that's $33 million a year. That's actually pretty cheap for a quarterback these days. Like, like the going rate's 45 to 55. So actually, when they cut him at the end of next year, which I assume they will, or trade him, then they're in a good position, to go after a good different quarterback. But using your logic, kind of the rubric you were using earlier, they're actually killing themselves here because they, as you just mentioned, like, they're actually ensuring that they're going to be mediocre or maybe slightly better than mediocre, and there's no shot for them to get a top pick.
Yeah, I would say the difference here is that they have an owner who's going to spend a lot of money, so they can get out of it easier, even with these contracts, just because the owner is going to shell out money. If they had like an average owner, even like Jerry Jones, like you said, he doesn't spend like what he could, then it would be much tougher. So I think as bad as, like, the situation seems in New Orleans, it's, like, not that bad. And, like, they can recover quickly as long as they make some good decisions and not sign Derek Carr. Like, you have to make good decisions here.
And maybe, like, were there other quarterbacks available? Maybe there was just, like, there's only so many quarterbacks to go around. Like we read, there's not enough quarterbacks for every team to have a good quarterback. Like, obviously, that's not the reality. But man, that's a lot of money to pay him. It seems absurd.
Yeah. Speaking of money, you wrote another article on your site, thecapsfake.com.
I go months at a time with nothing, and then I write 2 in 1 week.
I know. This is great. The NFL is the undisputed king of cash, how the owners make their money. There's a lot of great stuff here, charts as well. I urge you guys to read this too. I just need to point out something before, you have this chart. Revenue for the 2023 season. You have the NFL, $20.5 billion. MLB 11.3 billion, NBA 11.2 billion. You keep going on and on. There's even soccer in here. And then you get to the very bottom. This is great. WNBA negative 50 million. Gotta love it.
Just anytime I can take a shot at WNBA, it's worth it.
Yes. So yeah, these two articles that Kenny wrote are great. So check them out at thecapisfake.com. But yeah, that's about it. Unless you want to delve into some Star Wars, we can head out. Actually, I have to go and do the Play Like a Jet podcast. So I do have to get going myself. But guys, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. Please hit like.
Golf of America.
Yes. I was about to say. Please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description of the merch store. And thank you, Kenny, for this great Gulf of America t-shirt that I got. That was the mystery package.
Maybe we need a Gulf of America Walter football shirt.
Yes, I do. I do want to make that RIP Rainmaker shirt. I will send you one and as an exchange for this one. I'll have to come up with like a good design for it. Maybe Grok will give me a good design. Because I'm not paying someone to design these shirts. Yeah, guys, thank you once again. Thank you for commenting and watching. Really appreciate it. We're gonna be back tomorrow with Tom instead of Saturday. Tom's gonna take the Thursday slot, and we have a special guest on Saturday. It's gonna be an early-ish Saturday show. It's like 9:30 to accommodate our guests, but it's gonna be a good show. I promise you that. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. Have a great night, and I will talk to you tomorrow.
You the man, Walt.